This is the final part of the fears series. In the first part, I covered the fears that threaten securities, that is, the fears of poverty and ill health, and how we can find peace by trusting God. And last time, I covered the fears that threaten our acceptance, that is, the fears of criticism and loss of love, and how we can rest in God's acceptance. Today, I want to close with the fears that threaten our sense of significance. And these are the fears of old age, that is aging, and the fear of death. Now, these fears make us question if we matter, if our lives mean anything, if there's any purpose to our existence. It's as if time or the grave could steal our worth. But the question to answer today is, how do we stand firm in light of these fears? Well, let's get into it. Okay, so I want to start by stating this. Like this funny guy in Nigeria would say, I want to start this by getting into it pretissimo, which means quickly. But anyway, old age, old age, that is, aging and death can scare us because we want our lives to mean something. The fear of old age sneaks up on us when we spot a gray hair, or we begin to feel our steps slow down a little bit. This makes us wonder if our best days are gone. And the fear of death is even heavier. This, this is something that is not, it's not just about dying. It's about what's next. What's next in the hereafter, or if our life even counts. Now, these two fears can freeze us, but there's a way to see them differently. Now, let's begin with facing the fear of old age. The fear of old age is that fear that tells us that we are fading. It makes us feel like we're no longer needed. We're no longer relevant. Again, these two fears are the fears that threaten our sense of significance. And the fear of old age makes us feel like we're no longer relevant. We're no longer needed. And it causes us to worry as we feel as if we are being pushed to the sidelines. But I want us to look at a story of a man in the Bible. I was about to say this young man in the Bible, but he wasn't so young. He was well old. I think he was 85 years old. And this person is Caleb. I want us to look at the story of Caleb in Joshua chapter 14, verse 6 to 12. Joshua chapter 14, verse 6 to 12. Now, there are four things that I want to point out to you in the story of Caleb. So here's the background of the story. God had promised the children of Israel the promised land. God told them that they would get to the promised land. Moses took the children of Israel out of Egypt, but he was not able to take them further. At some point, Moses passed away, and Joshua continued the journey. And the first battle that Joshua faced was the Battle of Jericho. Now we know how that story ended, where the walls came down flat. But eventually, Joshua and the children of Israel got to the promised land, and they conquered as much as they could. But there were some lands that were not yet conquered. And God had promised the children of Israel that those lands belongs to them. So at this point in time, Caleb and Joshua were two of the older people. Before this particular period that I'm about to share, the story of Caleb, Moses had sent spies to the city or to the land of Ai. And these people went, the spies went in there, they spied the land. They noticed that the land was a great land that was flowing with milk and honey. That's what they call it. But the other people that went, except for Joshua and Caleb, doubted, and they begin to stir up some kind of confusion and worry within the community. But Joshua and Caleb thought, no, God has given us this land. We can as well go right now and conquer the land. And because of the fear of the people, because of the bad report, because of their complaining and their doubt, they were not able to get to the promised land. It was their children and their children's children that eventually went into the promised land. But Caleb and Joshua were the only two people that were able to go into the promised land. And they were the two people that stood on their faith, their faith in their God, saying that no, we can actually go into the city and take it because God has given it to us. Now, Caleb and Joshua had gotten to the promised land and they had conquered as many land as they could, but there was more to conquer. There was more land to take. So four things that I want us to focus on in this story. The first one is that Caleb stayed faithful. At 85 years old, Caleb went to Joshua and reminded him that, hey, I trusted God some 45 years earlier. Like 45 years ago, God told us that we would claim all this land. And I still have trust in this God. That right now, I want to go and get what belongs to me. It was 45 years earlier when they went out to spy on the promised land. Where those people murmured, where those people doubted, Caleb never wavered. Even though at this point he was 85 years old, he was still holding on to God's promise from 45 years ago, saying that I trust this God and I still want to get what is mine. Caleb stayed faithful. Sometimes your journey to getting into your promised land, to conquering all the mountains that you need to conquer, may take a very long time. But the question you need to ask yourself is this: will I be faithful to what God has promised me? Will I be faithful to trust in the promises of God for my life? Caleb stayed faithful. And the second thing is this: he refused to quit. Not only that he stayed faithful, he refused to quit. While others grumbled, Caleb believed God's promises and saying that this is what he said. He said, I followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. He went to Joshua and told him, hey, I followed God wholeheartedly. And he was stating his claim to that land. I remained faithful. I followed God wholeheartedly. He kept his faith strong and he didn't waver. So Caleb stayed faithful even though he was 85 years old. He refused to quit. And then he went ahead to claim his purpose. See, at the age of 85, many of us will be retiring by now. Caleb said, well, there are promises that God has made to me, and all those promises are yet to be fulfilled. I'm not going to waver. I'm not going to quit. I'm going to keep my faith strong. I will not retire. So he asked Joshua for one of the toughest mountains. He declared to Joshua in Joshua chapter 14, verse 11, it says, I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out. This was the man that it was 40 years when they went out to spy the land. That was 45 years ago. And now he's 85 years old And he was telling Joshua that I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent us out to spy on the land. So the first thing is this: Caleb stayed faithful. He refused to quit, and he claimed his purpose. He trusted in God's plan. Even though it has taken some 45 years, he still trusted in God's plan. And Caleb said to Joshua, if the Lord is with me, I will drive them out, just as he said. See, many times we feel like because we are aging, because the age thing is catching up to us, we need to call it quit on the promises of God. We need to call it quit on God's plan for our lives. The age of Caleb did not dim his calling. What are God's promises for you? What is God's plan for your life? What are God's promises for you? Are you allowing the fact that you're aging, are you allowing that to dim God's calling in your life? When we go to Proverbs chapter 16, verse 31, it says, Proverbs chapter 16, verse 31, it says, gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained in the way of righteousness. I'll read that again. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 31 says, gray hair is a crown of splendor. It is attained in the way of righteousness. Caleb's life shows that every season has a purpose. Every season in your life has a purpose. And this purpose could be for learning, and this purpose could be for doing what you've learned, or this purpose could be for teaching what you've learned and what you know. But your life has a purpose, and every season in your life has their purpose. If you're worried about the idea of aging, you're never done growing or sharing wisdom. So all you need to do is stay engaged. Perhaps find someone to mentor if you think that you're old enough, and maybe, oh, I've lived this life, I've been there, I've done that, right? Well, maybe you should find someone to mentor, someone to bring up, someone to teach, someone to raise. But even as you're mentoring people, even as you're teaching people, don't stop learning. You have to keep learning. And then trust that God keeps you fruitful. Because the important thing to understand is that you bring value in every season of your life. So once again, every season of your life has purpose, either for learning, doing, or for teaching what you know. But you have to understand that you bring value in every season of your life. So when the fear of aging or the fear of old age comes knocking at your door, don't have that worry of being sidelined. Don't have that worry that your time is done. Don't have that worry that you're no longer significant or relevant, because every season in your life has a purpose. Now, the second fear is the fear of death. Now, how can we face this fear? This is a fear that is even heavier than that of old age, because of course, when that old age feeling begin to creep in and step in, come into our life, one of the things that we start thinking about is the second fear, which is the fear of death. So fear of death looms large, making us wonder what's beyond or if our lives matter. And it's the unknown that gets us. When we think about the fear of death, it's the unknown that gets us. What will happen in the year after? What will happen when we take our last breath? But if we consider Jesus' encounter with Lazarus in John chapter 11, verse 17 to 44, this helps us see this fear differently. Now, before I go further, let me just share a little bit of a background with you and this story of Lazarus. So, Lazarus, I believe, with his siblings, his sisters, lived in the city of Bethany. And there was a day Jesus Christ was ministering to people. He was doing what he can, he was doing what he always did. Excuse me. He was doing what he always did, ministering to people. And some people came to him and told him, hey, your friend Lazarus is very, very sick. He's very sick, and this is becoming, something bad. He might not make it. And I love what the Bible said. The Bible said that when Jesus Christ was told this situation about Lazarus, and Jesus Christ told his disciples, okay, no problem. And they stayed a little longer at the place where they were. Jesus Christ loved Lazarus so much. Lazarus is like Jesus' best friend. But when report came to Jesus about his friend getting very sick and near unto death, Jesus Christ didn't just pack up and say, hey, we need to leave the next flight tomorrow morning. We need to get on that next flight and head over to where Lazarus is. No, Jesus Christ tarried. He stayed where he was. Sometimes I wonder, like, okay, why would you do something like that? But it makes me think on the fact that Jesus Christ is not us. He doesn't worry like we worry. Jesus Christ doesn't have a need to panic. There's no panic button on Jesus Christ. He doesn't freak out, for lack of a better word, like we do. When Jesus Christ got there, Lazarus was already dead for 4 days. And that's the story. That's the background of the story. So, three things that I want you to pick out of this story of Lazarus. The first thing is this: Lazarus was gone, he was dead, and Jesus felt the pain. Lazarus was dead for 4 days. His sisters, Mary and Martha, wept. They were thinking that all hope was lost. Death seemed final in this situation. Even Jesus Christ. But Jesus Christ was not weeping because of a disaster that just happened. Jesus Christ was weeping. Of course, I know a lot of people have, covered this topic and have given their own insight on it. And I have two or three reasons personally that I would say why Jesus Christ wept. The first reason is this: Jesus Christ was weeping because of the pain or the bitterness that death causes. God did not create us for death. God created us to have life and to have it more abundantly. But because of what happened in the Garden of Eden, the enemy brought death into humanity. And this was the biggest thing that happened when man sinned. This death that causes separation from God the Father. It's more than the physical aspect of death. But of course, the physical aspect of death also hurts. So this unfortunate situation called death was the first reason why Jesus Christ wept. The second reason why Jesus Christ wept was because of the unbelief of the people hanging around him, or the people hanging around, Lazarus and his family. And that's why Jesus Christ wept. So the first reason I believe is because of pain of death. The second one because of the unbelief of the people around them. And the third one is Jesus Christ wept to show that he gets our grief. He can empathize with what we're going through. He didn't dismiss what these people were feeling. He didn't dismiss their pain. He didn't dismiss their hurt because he understands. He understands the pain of death. And this is what he came to take care of. So the first thing is this: Lazarus was gone, and Jesus felt the pain. The second thing is this: that Jesus Christ called Lazarus back. So Jesus Christ got there, and Mary and Martha, they went to Jesus. Martha was the first one that came, and said, "Oh, I wish you were here." We believe we'll send people to you to come and tell you about our brother getting sick, but now he's dead. He's dead. And Jesus Christ was like, don't you believe what I've been telling you about resurrection, about life? And so, yeah, we actually believe that, in the last day, when you come back, every one of us will be resurrected and will come back to life. Jesus Christ was like, wow. So that's what you got out of what I've been, all the message that I've been sharing. And as Jesus Christ was approaching the home, Mary also came out. And she also mentioned that, oh my, if you had been here, our brother would still be alive. Jesus was like, okay, Mary, you are the one that always sits right whenever I'm ministering. You're always the one clinging onto every single words that I teach. How is it that you do not understand that I am the resurrection and the life? That anyone who believes in me, though they are dead, they will still come to life. See, see, what this fear do, all the fears that I've been talking about, the fear of poverty, the fear of ill health, the fear of criticism, the fear of loss of love, the fear of aging, the fear of death, all they do is to cloud our judgment. They bypass our logic, they bypass our sense of reasoning. Even though these people know so much about Jesus Christ and what he could do, this fear still had a hold on them. So Jesus Christ came and told him that, well, Lazarus is sleeping. I want you to roll the stone away from the mouth of the stone. And they told him, no, 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 we can't do that. This guy's been dead for 4 days. I think another reason maybe why Jesus Christ tarried a little bit was so that it could be unequivocal, it could be undoubted that Lazarus was actually dead. He was dead for 4 days. 4 days. So there was no doubt that he was dead. So when Jesus Christ got there and told them to roll the stone away, they told him, no, we can't do that because he's been dead for such a long time. After they rolled the stone away, they said the place, it was already stinking. People were covering their noses. And Jesus Christ prayed God and thanked him. And the Bible says that Jesus Christ said, God, I want to thank you right this moment because you hear me. And the reason why I'm praying is not for me, it's so that these people will believe that you are the one that sent me. And then Jesus shouted, Lazarus, come forth. And a dead man walked out of that grave. If we read John chapter 11, verse 43 to 44, it says Lazarus was wrapped around with his burial clothes and he walked out of that tomb. This proved that Jesus Christ is stronger than death. That is the Jesus you, as a believer, is putting your faith in. So it proved that Jesus Christ is stronger than death. But also in the case of Lazarus, because of what happened to him, many people believed in Jesus Christ. He was buried. His life was supposedly over. But as Jesus Christ brought him back to life, his life became a testimony to the power of Jesus Christ. His life had a new meaning. His life had a new purpose. Whatever is dead in your life, if you encounter the resurrecting power of Jesus Christ, purpose can be birthed even in that thing that is dead in your life. Whether it's your dream, whether it's God's promise in your life that you think is dead, whether it's a plan that God has birthed into your life as a vision, when you encounter the resurrecting power of Jesus, these will come to life. So Lazarus was gone and Jesus felt the pain. Jesus called Lazarus back to life. And then Jesus promised life. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live even though they die. And what should this tell us? This should let us know that death isn't the end. In John chapter 11, this passage where the story is, the story of Lazarus, verses 25 to 26, it says, I am the resurrection and the one who believes in me will live, even though they die. The power of Jesus over death means that death is just a doorway to forever Him. When you understand this, it gives you confidence to share your faith in Jesus with others. It gives you confidence to love fiercely, knowing that death leads to glory. And you can rest assured that your life counts now and always. If you've lost someone you love, my heart goes out to you. I think of my friends too. I've lost a few of my friends as well. And one of them was in the recent year. He died from cancer. I can't begin to imagine the pain that the family felt. For many people, the pain feels like a hole that won't close. But we can find comfort in praying and remembering our loved ones' faith, especially those who are believers. And if we can reflect on John chapter 11, verse 25 to 26, then we can see that these are not empty words. That Jesus Christ saying that He's the resurrection and the life, these are not empty words. It's a promise that those who love, who believe in Jesus, are alive with Him, waiting for us. So I want to encourage you to hold onto that hope. Hold tightly onto this hope. This hope is a light in the grief that you may be feeling. And this should remind us that our lives, this should remind you that your life, this should remind you that the life of the people that have gone before us matters forever. So let me bring this uh, together: the fear of aging or old age, and the fear of death. Fear of old age, on one hand, says that your time is up. But in Caleb's case, if we consider Caleb's mountain climbing faith, and if we combine this with Proverbs chapter 16, verse 31, it shows that you are a crown of splendor. Old age is a crown of splendor, and you can be fruitful in every season of your life. And on the other end, we see the fear of death that says to us that it's over. We're no longer relevant. But we can see Jesus' victory over death and the grave. And in Lazarus' case, and even in Jesus' resurrection, these are proof that death is just a step to eternity. And Apostle Paul said it best in Philippians chapter 1, verse 21. He says, "For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain." Now, this is a kind of statement you make when you trust and know without a shadow of a doubt that death is not final. So you, like Caleb, charging forward with purpose at any age, you, like Lazarus, stepping through death into life that never ends. That's the truth that no fear of aging or death can withstand. God's love makes you significant. You matter, not because of years or breath, but because you are His. And I want to encourage you to live in this truth, own this truth today and for the rest of your life. So this is what I want to share with you today about the fears that threaten us. So again, we've covered the fears that threaten um, our security, the fears that threaten our acceptance, and today we've wrapped up by covering the fears that threaten our significance, which are the fears of aging or old age, and the fears of death. Oh man, what a journey this fear series has been. I've been reading up on this for a while, and I've been trying to process it for a while because every one of us deal with different kind of fears. And like I've said, in the beginning, if you've been following me from the beginning, I opened by saying that I may be sharing with you one or two fears that I've experienced in my life. So I've got something quickly to share for those of you who have been following from the beginning. My own fear was the fear of ill health. And this actually came in 2021 with when I had gut issues. And this was like very surprising. And all of a sudden, I wasn't expecting it. And of course, that's what happened with health. Sometimes you don't expect it. Something happened, just like your car, breaking down. Your car that you've driven for a long time, and you think, okay, this car is just an amazing car. But all of a sudden, something happens, the car breaks down. And our body are more intricate and more grades than cars, but sometimes they break down just like that because before even if we don't know what's happening, they break down unexpectedly. So I had to undergo some treatment for that issue, and this shook me to my core. But with the support of friends, of course, my family, my amazing wife, and of course, by the grace of God, I'm doing way better now, and I continue to thank God every single day because this experience taught me to hand everything over to God. And I learned to appreciate my life more and try to live full out while I'm here on earth. Money, houses, cars, those are very little value to me anymore. Why? Because health is truly wealth. So in every prayer that I make before meals, and when I wake up, whenever I'm heading to bed, I always thank God for the gift of life and health because this is significant to me. And to many friends, I know many of my friends, there are many friends that are struggling with one thing or the other, and some of them are gone. And this reminds me to stay grateful, to stay grounded, and know what is important and what is not. So yeah, even the series uh, are speaking to me as well because we're not immune to fear. But when they come, how do we handle them? And that's the reason why I've gone into the series. So I want to encourage you to go back and watch the first series on my YouTube, GodTalk360. Go back and watch the first part and the second part, and also, thank you for tuning in up to this moment. So I want to thank you for walking through this series with me. If this spoke to you, I wanted to share it with someone who needs it. And please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and let me know what's on your heart. I'd love to hear. And if there's maybe any question you have, just let me know. I'm willing to respond. I always respond, because I post on Facebook and TikTok, and I respond to messages every single time that people have any questions for me. So please don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel and let me know what's on your heart. I'd love to hear from you. Well, until next time, I want to encourage you to keep living, keep trusting, keep striving. This is Paul Ige Adeoju, and this is God Talk 360. Have a good day.